All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be when you're watching this. It has been a little bit. I am Blair Armstrong with Team Armstrong, located in beautiful Indian Wells, California. We are in our studios here, as I said, in Indian Wells. It's been a little bit since Team Armstrong has just done a podcast about what's going on in the community. In a little bit, I have a guest to my right, Daniel King with State Farm, and I'm going to introduce him shortly. But most of you guys that are tuning in today probably will pick up the link through Instagram, or maybe you're a subscriber with us on YouTube. This is not Old Guys Still Rock. We will be doing that episode tomorrow with Brent Wright, who is in location in LA. But today we're going to talk about community members, people that are living, breathing, and working in here and actually providing back to the community. So again, on my right, I know it's going to look like it's on, when I'm looking at the screen, it says left, but I definitely on my right. I have Daniel King with State Farm, located in beautiful Palm Desert, California, just off of Monterey. I will bring up his website here in a little bit. So welcome, brother.
Yeah, no, thanks. Well, first off, I didn't realize that you were sort of disguising yourself as a disc jockey.
I know, right?
Hello. You got it down.
Well, we've done a couple of episodes, I think, between Old Guys Still Rock. We're 27 episodes into that, and we've done probably 30 in here. So we're hovering around 50, 60
So
episodes.
Old Guys Still Rock. So what makes an old guy?
Well, typically the way that podcast runs, we felt like there's a lot of podcasts to help certain people out, but most of those podcasts are really hitting kind of that 35 and under. We felt that there was a lot of information for guys and women in that 45 plus genre, and we were spot on. If we looked at our analytics, we're really hitting home to those subjects. One thing that we've really been touching on over the last couple of weeks is typically guys live in silos. Not of emotions that are shared of what's really going on with that. And we're starting to see that, unfortunately, in suicide rates right now, about 130,000 a day.
Wow.
Male suicides going on.
45 and up?
45 and up.
Wow.
So it's very sad. So the purpose behind that is to let you know that, hey, we've had wins, we've had losses. We want you to share those different things. And hopefully the information that we give and the guests that we bring on, it gives somebody a little bit of hope. What you and I talked about a little bit in the living room outside is we have to stop looking about what side of the fence you sit on, if it's right or left, and really start concentrating on it. You can still be right center or left center. The bottom line is to have communications and help each other grow. My belief, as I've fully stated, not only on this podcast and the other podcasts, is that God put us on here for a reason, and we are supposed to work together no matter what side of the fence you're on, because that's how we all become great. One of the reasons that I have you here today, first of all, thank you for coming in.
No, I'm excited to be here.
The people that introduced me to you had a tremendous impact on my life. And I know that those people that have a tremendous impact on life, if they're hanging out with certain people, then they're going to also have an impact on my life. So to Gina Cariaga and Marita Cariaga, thank you for bringing Daniel into my life. It's been an absolute pleasure for all this, and I can't wait for all of you people to get to know him. He's going to be, he's taking over a State Farm agency, again, just off of Highway 111 on Monterey. It's the old Peggy Ames building, who was a pillar.
She was there for, right? Well, I think that office has been there for 40 years. So it started with Bill Nye, who actually owns the office.
Okay.
So we actually bought that, I don't know how many years ago. I'd say like 40 years ago. He still owns it. And then Peggy Ames had been there for like 15 or 16 years. But Peggy was also, I think she'd been an agent for 40 years here in the desert.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she's a household name amongst like State Farm agents, right? Especially people that have insurance here. They all know her everywhere I go.
I mean, when I first moved to the desert, I remember seeing her name. And again, just to put a different location on this, so some people are like, okay, where's Monterey and 111? If you're at the current shops at Palm Desert, he's literally across the street on Monterey. So if you're going down Monterey and you're going to turn in to go to the shops, literally right across the street. Can't miss it. Right after the C,
right across from JCPenney.
JCPenney.
I mean,
and then right past what do I want to call Walgreens?
Yeah.
Right
Where
Walgreens.
was that Bank One? Is it
something
Bank,
like that?
Yeah.
Bank One, Walgreens,
Right.
and then
and
you.
Yeah.
Got a brand new, great sign from
It took a while. Very, very long time.
They built that from heaven and brought that down. It was a long time.
It's there though. It's a really great spot. First off, I want to say thanks for having me on, and then also I really, you've been amazing. Just the way you've helped me out, and I can definitely, I've got a real good sense of just positive sense of community here in the desert that I'm really excited about. I was an agent about like 6 years ago in San Diego for about 5 years. Okay. And while I loved it, I didn't feel the sense of community that I feel here.
Okay.
So I'm really excited, but also I get that sense from you too. And I want to say thanks for all the extra help that you've given.
It's been awesome.
I can't say enough good things about you. So thank you so much.
I love that, man.
I really appreciate that.
It's been awesome. We've had a journey, brother.
We're still on a
journey, right?
We're still on it.
Trying to find a house. We think we're ready and stuff. So a little bit of background is Daniel's moved down here. He had a great opportunity. We're going to share that background, how he got here. But anyway, he's transitioning from Washington out of the corporate role of State Farm, and now he's in an agency role here. And we think that we're ready to go ahead and okay, we're going to buy a house. Nope, not ready. So we're trying to sell a property for him. He's got some great agents up in Washington. They're working super hard. Just had some great news that the agent that he currently hired.
She had 32 brokers at the open yesterday. She's had it for about 3 weeks, and she's had, I would say, almost double or triple the people looking at it, the activity. So for me, it's a big lesson because I love real estate.
Right.
I think Blair can tell you I'm fascinated by it. Obsessed.
It's awesome. I love it. We're going to go on a journey today and look at some cool houses, and then we talk about it for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I love it. But I obviously don't know how to market real estate because I feel like I've just gotten a master class from the new realtor. I think it's too soon to say, but it's looking good. But also that's a craft, right?
Yeah,
so you got to learn it.
It is kind of what we're doing here. It's years of building relationships and making sure that you're taking care of people, right? What's her name?
Her name is Jocelyn. Oh my goodness. Her last name. I have it in my phone.
Okay.
But she works for Remax.
Okay. Jocelyn who works for Remax.
DuPont. Jocelyn DuPont.
All right.
She's killing it.
I kind of caught you off guard in that, and I hate when people ask me, "What's her?" Like, I got a good friend.
Well, I have her in my phone as Jocelyn Remax.
Okay, perfect. She owns Remax, right?
Well, so we recently switched realtors, right? So I was kind of trepidatious about switching over. So I had a lot of people approach me,
right?
So I wasn't giving everybody kind of the time of day, so I didn't bother to put her last name in my phone,
right?
Little did I know that she was going to come in and take it over. Yeah.
So Jocelyn, keep pushing. We really need you to sell that house, and I know you really want to sell that house. As in every realtor, the last thing you want to do is have houses on your books for a long time. It actually starts messing with a realtor's psyche because you're feeling not doing enough. So we try to find different things. Some are super easy. Some are freaking very hard. So Daniel King, again, State Farm down here. So if you guys are coming to the desert, there's a lot of stuff that, again, we'll talk about that as well. Is if you're looking for an agency or you're with State Farm already and you're buying a house or you're buying a business and you're looking to go ahead and keep that relationship with State Farm, or you're looking for a new real estate company, Daniel King is going to be our guy. We are going to put our stamp on him and recommend him. Yes, there's other insurance companies out there. And you're more than welcome to choose on them. And we're going to give him a recommendation. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
How long have you been with State Farm?
So I've been with State Farm for about 15 years.
Okay.
So I've basically worked for them in like every capacity possible. I started from the ground up as a team member in Los Angeles. So I did that for about 3 years. And then I got hired to sort of work. I trained, I think, about 200 new hire agents in the state of California for another 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
I did that. Then I got my own office for about 4 or 5 years. Then I moved out to Washington, and then I was a sales leader out there for about 5 years.
Right.
And then I got a call. I wasn't really planning to go anywhere. I had a really good run in Washington. I think last year, 2 years ago, I was the number 3 sales leader in the company, which It's kind of crazy.
That's good.
So I wasn't need to go, but when I got a call that this particular office was coming available, I kind of sat on it for a month. Then I came out here and looked at it, and that's when I met you.
Yeah.
It was too good to pass up. It was just one of those things I thought that would never come back around again. And so I snatched it. So, I feel very blessed about the opportunity. The other thing I would like to just talk about, just real, if we're talking about like choosing agents and stuff. Right. So I know that it was Peggy Ames' office, but also my staff have been there. So, so while it's a new name, my staff, my one Maricela Cortez, she's been there for 10 years. My other team member, Ana Rojo, she's been there for 5 years. And then I also have a service person that wasn't with the office before, but she's been with State Farm for over 20 years. So really combined, we have a lot of insurance experience. So I'm pretty confident that, if anybody needs anything or has any questions and they're not getting answers anywhere, that we can find an answer for people.
I think that's awesome. That's good to know too, because sometimes, first of all, people don't know who Peggy Ames is. Like, okay, here's a new kid on the block. He comes down from corporate, right? And now he's taking over. How much does he really know insurance? Well, it's obviously two things. Have to know a lot of insurance if you're going to be a team leader.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. You have to know a lot about it. Second of all is you're not going to take over a good producing income-wise for State Farm agency that's well established if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
It's not just like, hey, well,
no, they just don't give that office.
Daniel King, here you go. Because I'm sure there was a lot of people chomping at the bit to get that, right?
Right. Yeah. So, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy actually to finagle.
Right.
Even though they wanted me, it was a long, I think you were sort of a part of that in a way, just in conversations. It took a long time to get that ironed out.
Yeah.
But the opportunity, I think, in the desert to really help people with insurance and help people understand what's especially going on. I think we're going to get to that later with the climate and insurance is super important, but also just being able to help people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunity here.
Right. There is. When he first told me that he's thinking, I'm going to take over Peggy Ames' office, like, whoa, this guy's got to be a player for a little bit, and player in a good way. It was like, you have to establish, we talk about so much in our world of shaking hands and kissing babies and taking care of people, right? You have to have that to even be considered. State Farm is just not some run-of-the-mill company. They've been established for hundreds of years. I mean,
100 years. We just had our 100-year anniversary last year. We had our 100-year convention.
Gone through the fires. They're going through the fire right now, dealing with the Department of Insurance, the DOI, which will. So if you hear DOI, that means Department of Insurance, and we'll talk about how that's playing an effect, not only with State Farm, but with the other companies in there as well. But as I said, going into it, I'm glad that you brought that up, and I'm going to come back to it, is your staff.
Yes.
Staff had an opportunity to go find something else, right?
Yeah, they did.
They did. Yeah. At the end of the day,
yeah,
I may not click with this guy, so I'm going to go find a different State Farm agency or go work for something else. That speaks volumes of you too, because you had to sit down with them and say, hey, this is who I am. This is what we want to do. And I hope that you stay with me.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of nuggets in there. First off, while I have had a connection to the desert for a really long time, I've been coming out here for about 20 years, and I absolutely loved it. And I absolutely knew that at some point I would be living here. I just didn't know how soon. The second part, though, that I want to say to that day that I spoke to you about the office and your reaction, I remember going away like, okay, this is a really good opportunity.
It's a really
that guy
good
was
opportunity.
Stunned.
Yeah, I was stunned. It was good. So 15 years, State Farm, working pretty much in the corporate end of things. What I think that you said this, but I want to rehash this because I think it's important. But what brought you into the agency world? Because it's realistically, at the end of the day, corporate's kind of nice. You know what your plan is every day. I just have to make sure my agents are doing a good job. Now it's like taking a foundation that has been laid and not only taking care of it and nurturing that foundation, you also have to cultivate that foundation. It's a whole different thing to think about, not only for your livelihood, but for everybody else's livelihood.
Taking this opportunity was super difficult for me because I really liked what I was doing on the corporate side. And I think that one of my biggest abilities is really to help people get to where they're going. I like to build people up, and I like to help them be the best that they can possibly be. That's one of my sort of talents I have. I grew up, and my dad was a minister, so we've always been in the service of people.
Okay.
So I think just, you do something for so long, I think it just becomes sort of second nature to you.
Right.
So I really liked my job as a sales leader there in Washington, and it was hard like giving that up. I think when the opportunity came, I had to really sit down and think about it. But the opportunity here, I mean, I wouldn't have gone just anywhere. It was this particular opportunity that really persuaded me to really give it up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm excited about it.
I hope so.
Someday I'm going to land.
Someday we have, and I think that you have landed. You may not have the current living situation that you want right now, and that's fine because everything's, is just another piece of the puzzle that you're going through. I go back to this, and I'll probably hit it 2 or 3 more times to this. I'm so incredibly impressed that you got to keep your staff and how much you have on there. So again, going back to this, we're not selling Daniel, guys. We're letting you guys know who Daniel is. So it's just not someone that's taking a check and writing a policy at the end of the day. Is we want you to become I'm sure that Daniel will say this too. He wants to be a part of your life in a good way. He wants to know that if there's a situation, you can call him. If there's something that you don't understand with the insurance, that you can call him. That, like a good neighbor, right? State Farm is there, discount, double check, all those different things are there. But is there not only established agency, established company, but now you have established person that really knows this area for the most part because he's coming down here. He's not coming down here from Chicago or Washington, doesn't know any of the surroundings, pretty much goes wherever he wants to, knows where he wants to live, some different things. So definitely if you're looking out for something or you want some questions on there, so even if you have a different agency, I've talked to him about different things. I've had people with different agents or different agencies, and they've asked me a question. I have no idea how to answer it. I call him, and he's just willing, like, hey, this is this, and this, and that's why we have to do this, and this. So don't be afraid to reach out to them. Go to the source. Don't go to your neighbor unless they're a insurance agent. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you talked about my staff. I'm very excited about them. And the more that I work with them, the more I get to know them. I'm just excited to see what I can do to continue building them and growing them and pushing. Because State Farm is a tremendous opportunity for people to be employed. And a lot of times you find a lot of team members that don't really know quite the opportunity that's there for them. So for me, it's just been great to explain and then put the opportunity in front of them and see where they can go with it. Right. They're both the two ladies that I have in the office. They're both very special and very smart. Maricela, I can't say enough about. I mean, she knows everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, it did take some persuading to keep them, but, and then one didn't stay and now she's back.
That's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
She was like, I don't want to do this. And then Maricela seemed to like me so well that we talked the Anna into coming back. So I feel very lucky to have them. I'm very excited about it.
That's awesome. So before we get into this, I have one other thing because you and I both share a passion about these little four-legged creatures that we love so much. So we haven't seen, and actually if you follow me on Instagram through Team Armstrong or through Blair Armstrong or through Chrissy, whatever it's going to be, is obviously you know that I have 2 French Bulldogs. We have Gunner, who is our male, who's just about to turn 2. And then we have Chrissy about 9 months ago. About 9 months ago, got us a newer French Bulldog, and her name is Rose. So if we actually look at it, we have Guns and Roses.
I like that.
I
like that.
They are a bunch. And if you don't have French Bulldogs, I'm usually a big dog person. I grew up with, actually, I had a boxer for 12 years. Absolutely loved her. Her name was Jade. But we brought these 2 little creatures in, and I am freaking in love with these dogs. And so why I bring that up to is because Daniel King not only is an amazing State Farm agent, he's also had his fingers in breeding French Bulldogs,
which is really crazy.
It's insane.
It's really insane. And then also, like, if you know me personally, you would realize how insane that really is. I've got a litter of dogs right now. I have 2 fluffy dogs, and then I have a solid white platinum baby. Then I have a tan point. They're 3.5 weeks old, so they'll be 4, I think, on Saturday.
Yeah.
But when I moved out to Washington, we have a 10-acre horse ranch that's on the market now. So I was just looking at around the property, trying to figure out what we could do.
Right?
So I picked up dog breeding. It's been a lot of fun and fascinating because you learn a lot about in order to do that, like you got to know dog DNA, like what you're going to put together, like, ATAT with ATA will make 10 points, or AYAT and ATAT can make 10 points and fawns. It just really depends. And then they got to carry cream, or both dogs got to carry fluffy to get fluffy. And then there's Isabella. I mean, it's crazy. Honestly, it really is crazy.
And he keeps sending me pictures, and I'm such a sucker. And Chrissy's like, nope. 2 is enough, and which she's absolutely right.
The problem about that is he made the mistake of telling me he could have whole house full. So, and then also he doesn't have one of my dogs, which is also a problem.
I know it is a problem. It's definitely therapies. Right now, is just 2 is a lot to handle.
It is a lot.
We just got done with our female being she's just finishing up her heat, and so we're going to go in and have her fixed. And people,
was that the first time? First heat?
First heat. Well, I think there was a small one beforehand. This one was full bore.
For like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Diapers. Did you have the diapers?
Diapers.
We have what you call britches for bitches, is what they call.
We should have had those, because the diapers, because these, as you know, French
it's probably horrible to say. I mean, it's pretty, but that's what they were called.
That's what they're called.
That's a tag on the back of them that says literally that's the brand.
We should have had that. Did you put just pads in there?
Yeah, you put pads in them, and then they're bedazzled like rhinestones.
I should have had. Chrissy, I'm sorry, we missed out on that. Yeah, we just
call me Chrissy. I'll hook you up.
We just bought these diapers, and as you know, French bulldogs do not have tails, so the diapers eventually just kind of sag. So,
yeah, that's not fun.
It wasn't fun, but we're glad that we're through it. We will eventually take her in and get her spayed. It's that time, and no, we're not going to breed her. People asked why we didn't get her fixed before that part is I've always been under understanding that they need to go through at least one heat, so it actually decreases their chance of cancer. It kind of flushes some stuff out.
Well, also it's about like hormones and being developed, and I mean, the same thing for a boy dog, right? It's like you want them to like fully grow into what they're going to grow into before you fix them. I mean, I'm not a vet though, so I'm sure people have
there's different things.
Always,
if you Google it, dude, there was contradictory stories, and I'm like, I'm just going to go with what I know, what I've heard from really credible breeders on both sides. Is typically 1 to 2 heats. So I figured, like, okay, we know we had a small one. This one was much more. So I'm glad it's almost done, man. As I say, we knew it was going to be really bad. Did your Frenchie sleep with you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Of course, right? Well, some people don't. But so Frenchies love to bury themselves underneath the covers. I'm sharing this story. This is so stupid. This is kind of getting to know who I am too. So we love it because they snuggle, and they're great snugglers and stuff like this, but they go underneath the covers. Well, the day that it was really like, oh my God,
forget your sheets.
I get up super early clock at 4:00 in the morning. Chrissy was already downstairs working, and she came back. She goes, "What the hell happened?" It was everywhere. It looked like I murdered somebody. So I'm like, well, I guess here we go. So anyway, get some diapers, or if you're a French bulldog.
French bulldogs are the best, though. They're people.
Get them. They are.
They are people.
And they will mirror what, if you're chill, they'll be chill. If you're going hyper, they'll go. If you're not feeling it right now, they'll feel it out, and they'll come and love on you like nobody's business, man. That's like the best therapy ever.
Yeah.
So
I love them.
We got way off the tangent on
Sorry about that. I mean,
well, we love them.
Anybody still there listening?
So, and then if you're looking for a French bulldog, he's got some cute
ones. Let me
know. I want to talk about it later because you sold one that it still blows my mind. I tell the story all the time, but we're going to get right back into this because this is why we're listening to this about insurance. So right now it is a massive talk, not only here in California, yes, a lot in California, but it's affecting other states in Oregon and Washington and so forth. But let's talk about California because that's where we're at. A lot of insurance companies are pulling out of fire insurance, which is basically your home insurance. Still keeping auto, but pulling out of fire. I'm a new person coming in here. There's still opportunity to get insurance. The premiums have gone up 20, 30, 25, 30%, whatever that may be is. For what do I need to understand? Again, and I want to preface this, make sure that we're saying the right stuff, is what's coming from Daniel is not corporate State Farm. This is his thoughts. They're no longer in regard or go against.
I'm not speaking for the
Farm.
company. I'm speaking my own opinions based on my experience.
Perfect.
I think the first thing that I'd like to say that I think is really important that we didn't talk about earlier, that when you start talking about the state of insurance, you have to understand it's an industry thing right now.
Right.
It's not just a State Farm thing. It is bad in California, but it's not necessarily just a California thing. It's an industry thing in our country as a whole. And it started, I would say, well, with a lot of things. It started with, fires, but that's just part of it. It really started during COVID, right? Because inflation happened, right? And then what happened is that everything was shut down. And then all of a sudden, nobody was charging the rates that we needed to charge for inflation. We go back, we're fixing cars, we're fixing houses. Things are 3 or 4 times the price, right? So what happens is all the companies, not just State Farm, everybody is getting behind. Like we're losing money right and left.
Right.
I think there was one point last year. I think we were losing, I shouldn't even think, we were losing billions and billions of dollars as a company quickly.
Yeah.
So, you can't operate like that. So you have to quickly figure out how you're going to stop the bleeding, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not just something that people, I think there's a perception out there too, and I'm glad that you said that, is like, I'm paying these extremely high premiums. How do you run out of money? Well, when you have extremely high losses with fires and floods and COVID and different things like this, businesses that catch on fire, you guys are heavy into the commercial real estate as well. Those are bigger losses.
It's layered, and I could, depending on how long you want me to go, I could talk just about the why for a very, very long time, because you really have to really understand, and you've got to go back a couple of years to understand what the why is. And a lot of people don't realize that during COVID, companies such as State Farm, and I know in Washington, and forgive me because I was in Washington for 5 years before I came back as an agent here, we did an 18% right off the top of our auto premiums. And we held that for a really long time. Yep. And what happens is like, as people are getting back on the roads and accidents are starting to happen. Yep. And the thing with insurance is you have to charge according to the risk. Right. And if you've got a low premium, all of a sudden you're charging 18% and inflation happens, you can't catch up. Right. You can't get the rate fast enough. In California, and somebody can correct me later on if I'm not completely correct about, in fact, I won't give a number. What I'll say is you're limited to the amount of rate increases that you can actually take, and actually the percentages, I think, especially in auto. So, if you're losing $1 billion a month, right. And it takes a year just to get rate. You're getting rate, and then all of a sudden you've got to file again, and you're not even like caught up to where you need to be. Yeah. So it's just an ongoing situation. Yeah. And so, and I think that's important too. So we understand that everyone's going through this. And that's why it was another thing that I wanted to bring Daniel onto, is kind of at least give us some talking points. So always with our podcast, and we can go back to this, and we're also going to put it on through Facebook and through Instagram and stuff, YouTube and Spotify as well. But leave your comments, like if you have a question, put that question in there, and then we will get those answers for you. Because right now we're just going to do a broad stroke, introduce Daniel to here. We're going to talk about some things, but that's a hot topic right now, is insurance. My rates are going up to it. Some people have even got to the part, if you're financially stable enough to do this, is actually just self-insure and not pay those rates. It's a bigger risk. That's why these guys are here to take away the risk. That's why I wouldn't encourage that. There's so much more, and it's not so much just. There's a couple different things in here, and a brief moment in time back when I was in Oregon, I was with Farmers Insurance for about 7 years. But one of those things is to do when you self-insure is your exposure comes a lot more, and it's just not rebuilding your house. It's personal liability. Yep. Which is the biggest part, which people don't understand. It's like, oh, I'm just going to get a $50,000 liability policy. Dude, if you have assets that are $4 or $5 million, and you think that $50,000 liability, lawyers love to see what your assets are, and that's what they're going to base their lawsuit on. I've been working a lot, and I've worked with a lot of different State Farm agents and their teams over the last like 5 or 6 years. Actually, I'd say for the last 10 years, really.
Right.
And one of the biggest things that I talk about, and what I've really started to talk about with my team, is really started to talk about liability conversations, but most importantly, net worth conversations.
Yep.
Because you can't know what kind of liability you need until somebody sits and figures it out for you, right? It's like you've got to dial down to every detail of your financial situation before we can diagnose what you actually need,
right,
or give you the prescription, or however you want to say it. So I mean, I think if you're starting to, in my office here on Monterey, I think what you're going to start hearing from my team are, hey, we need to really go in and figure out if your liability is correct. How did you come to that conclusion?
Mm-hmm.
And then we might ask you a lot of really personal money questions in order for us to figure out what you need. Because you can't just tell me what you need, and I can't tell you just what you need. I need to know what you have in order before I protect you. I mean, we could go on that conversation for a long time too.
In a nutshell, I think you're spot on with that. And I think that's a great way to look at it too, is, we've become so accustomed that I can go ahead and just, give us a quote, go online, leave a quote to it. And I think this is what I need because this is what I had before. But if your assets have changed, if your exposure has changed, it's not bad to have a 30-minute or an hour conversation. This is my financial side. This is what we have in real estate. This is what we have in automobiles. What's my exposure? Do I have a teenage driver? Do I have a 22-year-old driver that's still underneath my policy? Whatever that may be, but those are different risks. You may be a great driver, but if you have someone coming up that's 16, 17 years old and they get in a car accident and you're worth $10 million and you have a $40,000 liability policy, you're hosed.
Well, I mean,
they get the house, they get the business, they get all these different things that they can attach to. And yes, you can do LLCs and corporations, and I get that where it's not touchable, but there's still, lawyers are going to find a way to that money, and that's is kind of your wall, if you may, around your or moat around your wall.
I always say that if you're driving down the road in the car, you got to assume that everything that you have or everything that you own is in the backseat of that car.
Yeah.
So when you're in a car accident and you hit someone and it's your fault, somebody's maimed, so they looped their leg is amputated and you're sued. Everything you own is in the backseat of that car. It's scattered across the road. Lawyers are coming in and picking it up one by one. So you have to protect all that stuff, and that's what liability is.
So definitely, if you guys have any questions on that, we'll definitely have a more in-depth conversation right there. This is going to be one of multiple conversations with Daniel because there's so much to.
I know this is riveting information too.
But it's important. Yes, it may not be riveting, but it's one of those conversations that are talked about. You hear it in your circles. I hear it in my circles. It's a topic of conversation. Why do I need insurance? I never use it until you have it. Then I always look at it this way. I hate reading articles. I lost everything in a fire. We're going to start a GoFundMe page. That sucks. And I understand people go through it. I understand that money's tight right now, and the last thing you want to do is pay your insurance. But that's what they're there for, is that we don't have to start a GoFundMe page, because no matter what that, I'm using that as an example, right? And I understand there's different circumstances for somebody, so I'm not calling anybody out. The problem is we're just taking away liability. It's a lot better to pay a $500 or $1,000 deductible to get everything back than trying to say, I don't have a house, I don't have clothes, I don't have this thing, I don't have a car, whatever that may be. So lots, and the point of I'm trying to get, and I'm talking a lot, but this insurance is an onion that could be constantly peeled back.
I think we're finding that in this conversation.
But I think it's good to talk about, dude, because it does it. I think my point was it just gets swept underneath the rug that it's just another expense that I really don't understand what we need.
But it's a small expense compared to what it could be if you really need it. And you don't really know you need insurance until you need it. That's the thing, right?
Exactly. It's like health insurance.
Totally.
Yep. It could be 40 years of you use it, and all of a sudden you have a catastrophic stuff there. So going back to that, because I think that was a big thing that we want to talk about. As I said, Daniel's going to come back multiple times and be on this. And we'll have a specific subject, and we'll talk about that, and we'll go from there. But so going back to rate increases right now, insurance companies coming out, should I be nervous or like, hey, we're just going to have to weather this storm for a little bit? It could be I know that you don't know this, but what is your perspective? How long this goes on to? Is this going to kind of be a forever thing, or again, not? I know that you're not. What you're saying,
right?
Is not
it's hard to say. What I would say is, if you have a homeowner's policy, I call it fire policy. That's any kind of liability policy, commercial policy on a commercial building, homeowner's policy, a condo policy. If you're an HOA and you've got a large HOA policy, now is not the time to shop.
Right.
Now is not the time to ask for price decreases, because it's not going to happen, right? Because there are not very many people left in the state who can actually write them, including us.
Right.
So State Farm isn't currently writing them. So if you come into my office now and you need me to write a new product, I can't.
Right.
So, I tell people, and unfortunately I feel bad when people come into my office, I say, hey, I don't recommend that you go digging on this right now.
Right.
Maybe later, and that's your right to dig on it, right? And I think that's what we're fighting for right now in the state, is for people to actually have their right, have a lot of different options to choose from. So where it's not just State Farm or Farmers or Allstate or Geico or Progressive. It's like you have all the companies to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really what's really important here, I think, in my opinion.
And I go back to what you said, and I really want to hit that point too, is what you said is that right now is not a good time shopping for rates. So if you're with the company, stay there, because everyone's in the same freaking boat.
Well, and people are packing their bags every day, especially all your mom. I had some clients in my office this week, and they were very upset because their fire policy had canceled.
Yeah.
And they didn't know what to do. And they were debating, like, we're going to have to move out of the state because their prices were going to be astronomical, or they couldn't get insurance at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, I mean, that's scary. And the problem is like, when you don't have a lot of options, then you definitely do get in that. And you can't have one company carry everyone, because then that company's going to go bankrupt. Right.
Yeah.
I want to insure everybody in Palm Desert, but I know, I know that that's not really probably fine for me, but for State Farm as a whole, that's probably not maybe the best thing.
Exactly right. So hold tight is, if you didn't hear that message, is again, this golden nugget from Daniel is to hold tight right now. It's a storm that we're all going through. Don't be going. I mean, you're more than welcome to go shop rates, but realistically, opening that can might cause you bigger financial issues in the future right now. So as much as Daniel would love to have your business, it's probably just a good time. Maybe a better resource of questions for him right now. And we go back. I almost went back down to liability stuff. So go back, and I said too, is we understand where the fire rates are. If you have a fire policy with whoever it may be, stay put. But again, if you need a resource for questions, Daniel will be free to answer them.
But there's also a million other things that we do too, right?
Yeah, well,
I can write auto insurance. We're partnered with Jackson National on annuities right now. Okay. We're the #1 life insurance company in the country. I can help you with life insurance all day. We're partnered with US Bank. I'm sure there's a billion things. We have so many partnerships and so many alliances, and I love that. Yeah. Because I like doing a lot of different things, but also we can help people in so many different ways. And I think one of the great things that State Farm has done, and I think going ahead in the future that will definitely set them apart, is we're putting ourselves with the best people in the industry, in different various industries, doing the best things. So there's so many things that we can do. So always come in and talk to us, and we'll see how we can help out.
State Farm, as you said too, that's why you've been with them for 15 years. They've created a culture that aligns with your culture, and that is to help different people, right? And that's why you're with them, because I'm sure that you've had different opportunities.
I have a lot of friends, and I have a lot of friends in a lot of different industries. So I don't want to say that, but I would say a lot of my close friends they all work within the company in some sort of capacity, right? And we don't leave.
Right, we don't leave. So as we wrap up here, brother, first of all, again, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
This
is awesome. You. This helped me a lot. This educates me. So as I said to you all pretty much on every single podcast, I do these things because it's not only educational, but it's therapy. And so it just helps out a tremendous amount. Again, another massive shout out to Gina Carriaga and Marita Carriaga for bringing this dude in my life and in my wife's life. You've been an absolute godsend to us, guys, and I
would say it's the other way around, but so thank you.
We're a little bromance here right now, which is kind of cool. But final words for you as you're establishing your community in in the insurance world, something for our community to hold on to as we progress forward through this.
Well, I would think, as far as like State Farm goes, we're a really good company. We've been around for 100 years. So I always stake my bets in that.
Yeah.
And we always do right by our customers. We believe that. And so I think that we'll continue to do our best, put our best foot forward in this race. I know that for not rating fire in the state of California was, when you're the big apple or whatever you call it,
right?
When you're the main people and you back out of business, writing business in a state, it's a big deal, right? But I think in the long run, I think that what we're really trying to do is really establish an even playing field, so that our customers have more opportunities. And obviously we want your business, but also more opportunities to shop for the best price, if that be what's important, or stay with the best company, but really just have a lot of different companies to have choices. I think that that's really what we're trying to do, but also hang tight. It might take a minute. I'm not sure that things will get better before they get worse. So if you've got fire policies, hang on to them. And if you need help or resources finding other companies that can write policies for you now, give us a call. Me and my team will do our best to help you out.
Yeah. So what we do too is I'm going to share this with you guys just so you can kind of get familiar with this. Here is Daniel's website here. So for you guys that see this, I know they can kind of see us too, but this is website, State Farm. You're going to find it on here. I'm going to leave it on here. So if you guys want to go ahead and copy this or look up State Farm Daniel King, if you Google that, it automatically comes up to his Google page. There's a website button on there. If you worked with Daniel King in the past, be sure to go ahead and leave a comment. Those are always help for people to find him. But there's his multitude of, there's his Facebook page, there's his Instagram page, there's this little spot for Google to find that spot, and then all the different types of, again, you can,
and it's easy to remember. It's Palm Desert King. I've had a lot of people, they're like, the audacity of that guy to market himself is that he thinks he's the king of the desert, but my last name is King, so I felt like I was allowed. But Daniel at palmdesertking.com if you need to email, or my Instagram. We have a nice Instagram going on right now that I'm really proud of, that really highlights me and my team. So hit us up.
I can't share that right now. So you'll be on here. I would show that page, but once we get off this page, we can't stop. So I'm going to stop sharing this part, come back over here to see us. Guys, we just really appreciate you stopping in. I know it's been a little bit since we just did a straight Team Armstrong community pages. We're going to get more into that. It's been a little crazy in my world with rates and low inventory and all that stuff, but we're working hard behind the scenes. But you're going to start seeing a lot more Daniel. You'll start seeing more community members on here to help basically give you the right type of information that's needed, instead of trying to find out through papers and different social media and stuff like that. So we're going to get it right from the horse's mouth, if you may. So again, Daniel King, thank you so much for
Thanks
coming
for having
in, brother.
me.
I really appreciate you guys. Yeah. Give us some music on the way out. You guys, again, thank you so much for all the followings. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please subscribe to this. Stay tuned, especially for all this Team Armstrong stuff that we have coming out in the future. But most of all, have a great, great day. Stay safe, and God bless, guys. We love you very much, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.